Hey everybody, this is Dawn Mitchell and welcome to Dawn of Sports. Today we are talking hockey and not just Minnesota Wild. Don't forget Minnesota Frost. So Wild and Frost both in playoff action. And of course, who do we talk to? None other than the wonderful Miss Heather Rule. She is writing now for not only Wild.com, she writes for NHL.com. You've seen her writings everywhere. She's also an author of 12 books. She's been a friend on our podcast before, but we're going to get down and dirty and talk about these two teams now, one in their respective round one and the Wild in their round two. So that's coming up.
We have Heather here for all the hockey. That's right. This is Dawn of Sports. She's Dawn Mitchell from Fox 9. I'm Jim Suhan from the Star Tribune and TalkNorth.com. This is TalkNorth.com. We're coming to you from the Aquarius Home Services Studios. We also want to thank Minnesota Masonic Charities and Lucy. We'll tell you about a new product, Lucy, that we've been promoting on our network here shortly. But for now, we want to get right to Heather because she knows all the hockey.
Heather is all the hockey. We should, back east they would say, Heather on hockey. Hey, Heather. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks for having me on. Again, always love to talk hockey. Always love being on your pod. So should be fun.
I wish we had a little bit better to talk about coming off of the Wild's 9-6. I don't know. I did not see that coming. I think I settled into the cardiac games where it's going to be like 1-1, 2-1, 2-2. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, yeah. I mean, they did stay toe-to-toe for a while, but not the game I was expecting. How about you?
I don't think anyone expected that. Anyone who says they thought that game was going to play out the way it did, I don't know who would say that. It was... I think John Hines said after the game a couple of times, helter-skelter kind of game. And that's a good way to put it. I referenced it in something I wrote last night about the Frost, and I didn't really know how to put it. Everyone online was kind of saying, this game is drunk, that kind of thing. The TNT intermission guys did not like it. They're like, this is ugly hockey. This isn't good. It was interesting. It was 3-0 early, and I thought, okay, this could be a long night right away. But then the Wild responded. And I think that's a positive I took away from last night is they didn't go away. I mean, it's obviously was not a game to highlight goaltending or defense on either side. People forget there's all of a sudden people are freaking out about Wallstead. And Colorado's goalie gave up 6 too. So just a game of breakdowns. And even the shorthanded goal that Marcus Foligno had, basically a 2-on-0 with his brother and finished off play. I mean, that was, a turnover at the blue line, I think, for Colorado. It just, and Middleton earlier, he didn't have the best game. He fanned on a pass behind their own net that led to a goal. So yeah, really, really crazy game. I don't know. It was, and the thing was too, I put that out there. You could give up 27 goals and it's still just one loss. There's obviously the things you have to look at, and adjustments for game 2, I think, is going to be huge. But it's kind of one of those, it still just counts as one. You could look at all the bad things that happen, but you're going to have to figure those out. But I don't know. It was, helter-skelter for sure.
I always like to get into the psychology of the game, too. I'm definitely one of those psych nerds when it comes to sports. I even took a course in college, psychology of sports and sociology of sports. And this is how my brain is processing it. It's kind of like, all right, maybe because it's been Colorado, Dallas, the Wild, for so long, right? It's just been that log jam, whether if you're looking right at your division, conference, whatever you want, that maybe coming off the high or the exhaustion for the Wild of getting through Dallas, they didn't play their best game. I can't speak for Colorado, but I don't know. I was thinking that it's one of those, you get there, it's like, blah, helter-skelter, you just kind of regurgitate on the ice a game, and then you settle into a 7-game series. So is that maybe your takeaway the day after?
Yeah, I think so. I think because going into it, there was so much made about the rest that Colorado had because they swept their series, and so they've been sitting around for a week. Right. And then because, the NHL didn't release the schedule until whatever it was, late Friday night, I think, saying that, hey, you're going to play on Sunday. in Colorado, because I think they thought maybe they had another day. Maybe they're going to start today and not yesterday. So not that anyone is giving, I don't think anyone say, yeah, we're using different things as excuses. No one ever does that. But I do think that was a factor, especially in the third period. And you just saw the pace of the game and how ready Colorado was. And the Wild did not have their best game. I mean, they held an optional practice Saturday, but they really, didn't practice much. I mean, it was just kind of a, hey, we'll tune up before we fly to Colorado. So I think you're right. I think that was definitely a factor of they had this emotional high of winning that series. And as much as they can come out and say, hey, we're resetting and it's, okay, next series now. I think that does play a little bit of a factor, that it was such a quick turnaround. And now they do have to reset. And that was something that John Hines has talked about a lot. Pretty much every game of that series is this is how the playoffs are. No matter if you win, that their first game against Dallas, they played almost a perfect game in a lot of ways. Yeah. It was 6-1. And even that, it's like, okay, well, we have to reset for game 2. Each game is a reset, no matter what happened, how well you played or how bad you played. And you have to take the things you can learn and adjust from that game and apply it to the next game.
I think, though, the one thing that did surprise me, and I'm sure a lot of Wild fans are with me riding that roller coaster last night, I did think when Foligno scored that goal that it was going to be the Wild's game after that. I did. I felt that momentum shift, and then they laid an egg the rest of the way. Like I wasn't planning on that. So that kind of surprised me. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I think I don't think I had enough time to think that far, but yeah, now that you say that, because I think they only had the lead there for like a minute, 9 seconds or something before Colorado tied it back up again. But I think you're right. That was for sure a turning point because that was, they had down 3-0, scored a couple quick, tied it at 4-4, and then had that shorthanded goal for the lead. And a goal like that, too, to get a shorthanded goal, that opportunity from Marcus Foligno, and to take the lead, it's like, okay, you're right. I think that was where you thought maybe the tide was going to turn a little bit and then, ties back up. I think it was tied at the end of 2, if I remember right. So, yeah, but the third period just, again, but Cale Makar, I mean, he was out most of the first period. He was hurt, and then he scores a couple goals. That was the thing I was trying to think of last night, too, is how many goals did Wallstead really want back? And I thought maybe there were a couple, which is weird to say when you give up 8. He ended up, they had an empty netter. But I don't think that there were a ton that you can all just hang on him because the defense was turning pucks over and nobody was playing clean, that kind of thing. So there were like the Kadri goal for sure, I think. And there was maybe one other one. And, again, the power play, I think technically they only gave up 1 in the power play, but it was essentially 2 because one of them they scored right as they got back to full strength. So that's another problem to me that they still need to work through. It's like, okay, we got through Dallas with the 10 power play goals and now doing it again in Colorado. So they need to fix that PK.
Yeah, and, I hope Wally is the kind of guy, we saw it in the regular season, especially towards the end, that where he can just shake off kind of a game like this because Colorado is different. It's an offensive powerhouse. They kind of know that coming in, that maybe he'd see more pucks coming his way. But also, you talked about it wasn't a defensive juggernaut by any means. I think more pucks got to him, obviously, than in the first. So it's kind of that mixture, like you said, of it being helter-skelter, and also he's going to see a different kind of offensive powerhouse coming at him, and he's got to shake off this game pretty quickly.
Yeah, and I think it was interesting because after the first series, I was thinking about how the Wild went into that series, and there was a little bit of a goaltender controversy in a way because they went the whole season with this rotation with Gustafsson, and then all of a sudden down the stretch, Gustafsson was not playing well. And they gave the net to Wallstead as a rookie, and he stepped up and he performed really well and played well in that series for his first playoff experience. And now it's to the point where, I think some people are asking, do you go to Gus? Do you go to him in this series? I think you still stick with Wallstead and let him try and bounce back. I think he has, and he's been very open talking with the media too this year about how he's worked with a sports psychologist. He had a very tough season last year. in net. And so just working through a lot of those things, so much of the game is mental, right? And I think for him to bounce back and make those adjustments to, like you said, a different team, different series, it's, Colorado, not Dallas. I think he needs to get another shot to adjust to that, and then kind of we'll see where we're at after game 2.
Yeah, I think I even asked John Hines one of the games in the series against Dallas what he liked so much about Wally, and that he was being quiet. He was a quiet goal. He was focused. He wasn't giving up tons of rebounds. He was just kind of maintaining his emotions, and we saw him get away a little bit from that in that last game.
Yeah, I think even there was, I want to say it was maybe game 5 in Dallas, where he was still very good, but he wasn't quite as sharp as he had been those previous games. Gave up a few more rebounds, and they were still obviously able to get that big win. But yeah, I think yesterday it just, again, it's hard a little bit to kind of like really dig in and analyze some of this stuff because it was such a weird game. It's just, I don't know. But yeah, I think it wasn't a good game from goaltending perspective. And there were definitely things that I think in reading some of his comments from last night, he's gonna just kind of flush this one away and move forward on to the next
one. What else
one.
can you do, right?
Yeah,
what else
exactly.
Can you do?
Exactly. And when you have, the playmakers and the scorers that Colorado has too, I mean, they're going to get their chances. They're going to get their goals. That's going to happen. You're not going to shut them out in entire series either. So, but I would expect that he has worked through enough mentally that he's going to be prepared and ready for the next game.
We're going to talk more Wild, but we're also going to get to the Frost in the middle of their playoffs as well. We do want to remind you we're coming from the Aquarius Home Services studio. We'd like to thank Minnesota Masonic Charities. We'd like to introduce a new sponsor for Lucy.
Hi, this is Mark Rosen, and I wanted to introduce you to a product a lot of my friends have been using lately called Lucy. Now, Lucy is a premium tobacco-free nicotine pouch that comes in a variety of strengths and flavors. So there's an option for just about everyone. What makes it stand out is the flavor experience, especially with Lucy Breakers, which have a built-in flavor capsule you can crack for an instant extra burst. That's what makes Lucy different. It's the only pouch delivering long-lasting, on-demand flavor, giving you a unique experience every time. Get 20% off your first order at lucy.co-rosen with promo code ROSEN. And if you don't want to wait, check out their store locator to find Lucy near you and grab it today. And here comes the fine print. Lucy products are only for adults of legal age, and every customer is age verified. Warning, this product does contain nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.
The days are longer, the calendar is filling up, and I want to feel as good as this beautiful summer weather. That's why I've been loving Groons. It's one daily pack of gummies that covers my greens, vitamins, and minerals, and even has 6 grams of prebiotic fiber, so I don't need to juggle a complicated wellness routine on top of everything else. They taste amazing. They're easy to toss in my bag on the go. Plus, they're vegan, gluten-free, and HSA FSA eligible for reimbursement. Save up to 52% off with promo code podcast at Groons.co. That's code podcast at GRUNS.co.
Yeah, and Heather, I agree with you. Wallstedt, maybe you should have stopped a couple of those, but I mean, the difference between this game and most NHL games was when every time the Wild made a mistake, the Avalanche picked a corner and hit a brilliant shot. I mean, most NHL games, you make 8 mistakes and you give up 1 goal on those 8 mistakes. Last night, it was like every time the Wild made any mistake or fell a half step behind, Colorado was just good enough to take advantage.
Yeah, definitely. And the chances off the rush too that's going to be something that's part of that speed of the game with Colorado that the Wild are going to have to figure out and try to shut down. And defensively too, obviously they missed Brodin and Eric Sneck not playing in that game. I think that was, it was kind of exposed a little bit with the D pairings. They're missing Brodin, and Eric Sneck is just he's a tough player to play against defensively on the PK, and he's a bother in front of the opponent's net. So that's tough, but they're going to have to, figure it out. And like they always, the players always tell us, well, it's just next man up, next man up. It's like, okay, then, you're going to have to figure that out because defensively without those two last night was pretty tough.
Yeah, they say next man up, but sometimes you can fill that hole, but it's not that talent level,
right? Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's not quite that easy to just, it's much easier to say that than it is to go out there and try to replace those talents.
I wanted to say too, first of all, I also read your article on wild.com, the reason to believe before they entered into this round two. And there are reasons to believe, and injuries are going to affect every team. How do you as a writer then kind of like shift your focus as well along with the team? I loved how you said there is reason to believe they can take this the whole way. But there's so many fans now after last game going, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, what do you say to that?
Yeah. Well, first of all, everyone needs to calm down a little bit. I don't know. It's one game. I put out, it's funny how, yeah, it's funny how social media and algorithms can just take off too. Because I was posting things last night and I had posted a stat about, I think it was the Wild's record in game ones against Colorado in their playoff history, but they've also won, 2 of the 3 series, and that's kind of taking off, and people just let it. I'm just putting it out there as a stat and a fact, and people are just kind of going all over it like, well, that doesn't matter now, and this and that. I'm like, okay, it's not a big deal, guys. It's one game. Game 2 is not a must-win game. That's kind of my bit too. I don't like when people call game 2 of a 7-game series a must-win game, because I think momentum shifts and changes so much throughout the course of a series. It's a long series, and obviously it's not ideal if they were to go down 0-2. But at the same time, I always say on paper, Colorado has the higher seed. They have the home ice advantage. They should win those first 2 games if you're just going by on paper and what should happen. And then you can go home and win your 2 games. Then the series is tied going into game 5. So I don't know. I think, they were able to take home ice advantage from Dallas those first couple games and come back with the split, which is really good. But I think, just, calm down a little bit, enjoy it. I think part of me is like, we're in the second round. This is kind of cool. Haven't had this happen in obviously more than a decade. So it's been fun to kind of shift the focus now to, okay, it's a different team. We got, different style of play, paying attention to, but also just enjoying it. I think that's something I've learned the past few years too, and watching the Twins go through an 0-18 stretch in the postseason, you just kind of you enjoy the ride of fun regular season too, and fun moments when they happen. And in the playoffs too, every game is important. Every game is magnified, but you're not going to go in and sweep Colorado. I don't think anyone thought that was going to happen. So, just go reset for game 2.
So calm down, Heather says, everybody. Just calm down.
I think she's screaming it. She's all caps typing it.
This is how Heather screams.
Yes, very timidly, but yes.
Yes.
Politely, not timidly, politely.
That's right.
Politely. Yes. Yep. Very Minnesota.
So before we get to Frost, I do want to say Jessi Pierce would be loving this. And I do have a feeling that she is up there still flushing that game last night, flushing it, but had a hand in, perhaps, if you so believe, in the whole Dallas series. And Jessi Pierce, I just love how, whether it's home or away, the teams have been honoring her, saving her a seat, putting the flowers there. And you and I were talking earlier how she just loved the playoffs. And to have it double barrel here, hockey-wise, for both the Wild and also the Frost, she's beaming up there. She is, don't you think?
Yes. Yeah, definitely. She would love this. And I think that's what was, to be honest, exciting, but also really difficult at the same time when the Wild won the other night, because she wasn't there to be with us. And celebrate as Minnesota sports fans after all this time of them not getting out of the first round and finally being able to do it. So yeah, I think she would love this, but it's definitely kind of two sides of it. I was definitely thinking about her a lot at the end of Game 6, and it was kind of tough because I knew she wasn't there, but at the same time, she's watching and she's a part of this. And I think looking back on it later on when I'll reflect on it maybe a little bit more, I think that'll be really good to know that she's still a part of it. And like you said, it has been really nice to see all the teams around the NHL that have honored her and had the seat in the press box, and the Wild have still done that as well. Had her photo there, a photo of her and her kids, Hudson, Caden, and Avery. And yeah, she would love this. And it's really sad. It's hard she's not here, but I think, yeah, she must have had a hand in it somehow, them getting that series win.
Yeah, the thought that crossed my mind, even at the beginning of the series with Dallas is, I know that for you, working side by side with her, I don't get to go to all the games, being on Vikings for most of the beginning of the season. Um, but whenever the Vikings were done and I get to cross over and do some Wild, Jessi would always welcome me and everyone from the Wild beat with open arms. But I was thinking of you because it's like a heavy heart, but also I call it a heavy pen. That sometimes you're writing the stories, and you wrote it in one of your columns that the space where you write is where she used to write. So you're connected to her also on that level, which makes it even more poignant, but also more difficult for you to do your job. So first, I want to congratulate you on being able to do that. When it is a friend, it is someone that you care about, and it's a space that you shared with her in terms of hockey, and now you are there alone, but with her, if that makes sense. How hard has that been?
Yeah. Thank you for saying that. First of all, it's been very difficult to be at the arena um, without her, and even though there are a couple of other women in the press box and on the beat, it's weird how I thought of one other day at Tria Rink, just how I felt very I don't know how to put it. There was obviously a void, but it was like this void of that we feel a lot of times as women in sports, where we're the only one or one of the only ones. And
Mhm.
like I said, we still have, there's me, a couple other women, but to have that void too missing, it is really hard because that was such a huge piece on when I would be on the Wild beat is Jessi. Jessi was there, Sarah McClellan from Star Tribune is there. And so I always felt like that was such a blessing to have all of us there. Um, but yeah, it's been really hard to go to games. My seat in the press box is only a few seats down from her. And yeah, I miss her. Definitely, the rides home have been kind of hard because you kind of get in that work mode when you're there, and then you're just thinking about it on the drive home, and it's emotional and really difficult. But I know she would also be really excited for me and the things that I'm getting to do, the stories that I'm doing with the Wild, with Wild.com. Had started
Mhm.
in March or end of February, whenever it was, and she knew about that and
Mhm.
was really excited for me to get that
Yeah.
opportunity. And I think that's something that I keep reflecting back on and remembering, because I'm really glad she knew about that. I'm really glad that she expressed to me how happy she was for me, because that's who she was, and she
Yeah.
was so supportive of everybody and helpful and supportive of me. And I'm just really glad, she would she knew, that's why I related to her so well too, because she was also an independent, freelance writer, podcaster. So we understood each other so well in that way. And, she would tell me all the time, I walked into practice one day and she said, hardest working woman in sports. And because she knows how busy I am and how much I do. And so I think the more I've thought about it, it really means a lot to me that she knew I had this new opportunity and it was something different than what she was doing. But she was really happy for me, and that means a lot too.
Well, I'm a firm believer that she's still seeing everything. That's just from a different vantage point. That's kind of what I carry forward. So, and she'd also be so thrilled. Um, I don't know how you're going to do it when they both play at the same time. The Frost, an hour away from each other, right? The Wild and the Frost to play same day coming up on Tuesday. Yeah. She'd be like having some words about that for sure. NHL scheduling. Thank you very much. But so turning to the Frost, that's a space that she owned too, and you co-owned with her, and we joked around about it when it comes to they're going for the three-peat, but there's always an element of being chosen. And when the Frost were chosen instead of fourth seed Ottawa, so basically Montreal is saying, oh, we think we can get through the Frost easier than we can the fourth seed. Um, like I said on my sportscast this weekend, do they not learn from history? And I can just hear Jessi up there going, oh, they made the wrong decision again. What are your thoughts on now the Frost? They won in overtime in game one to Montreal, kind of like I felt like, oh my gosh, we're just going from the Wild Dallas series into the Frost Montreal series. But it was tooth and nail for that. And of course, the Frost being the underdogs in this series. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, the choosing the opponent thing is so interesting because that's something that's a little bit unique to the PWHL. And I know, there was a lot made when Chris Finch with the Wolves said that, Denver chose us. And I think people are maybe not getting that, Denver didn't technically know they did it. I mean, I get what he's saying there, but
he just played a coaching game. He didn't.
Exactly.
Denver didn't choose them.
Montreal actually did choose this, and it was
a lesser team,
right? Yeah. And well, it was an interesting choice though because Montreal had the same choice last season, and they chose Ottawa and lost in 4 games to Ottawa in the semifinals. So I think. I mean, and the coaches, both of them for Minnesota and Montreal were pretty coy about, not getting into super detailed about why they chose, and Minnesota just kind of brushed it off as like, well, we're going to have to go somewhere, and they had to make a choice. But with Montreal, I mean, it didn't surprise me necessarily. It just hasn't worked out. I mean, the 2 years of playoffs, you have the semifinals and finals, best of 5 each series, and the lower seed has won all of them. Mm-hmm. So, and that has been, the last 2 years, Minnesota was number 4. They're number 3 this year. So they're changing it up a little bit. But Taylor Heisey actually said to me earlier this week, she said, I think maybe, being the 2 seed is probably the best place to be right now, because then you get the home ice advantage. Mm-hmm. You're the 2 seed, but you don't have to choose. It's chosen for you. And that maybe is going to work out better for Boston this time around. Boston's the 2 seed playing Ottawa. So we'll see how that goes. But the Frost have kind of, I wrote, flipped their own script a little bit. They're the 3 seed, not the 4. They got in the playoffs a little bit early. They won game 1 for the first time.
I know.
So that hadn't happened. They were, they're 4-0 in series, 0-4 in game 1. So they won game 1. They beat Montreal. They haven't beaten them all year. Lost in overtime to them twice. And that game the other day was funny. It's funny this year how similar things are with the Frost and the Wild sometimes. Just, each team has a goaltending tandem, and, each team played really well heading into the Olympics, like that kind of thing. And I thought, okay, the Frost had this crazy game 1, all this stuff happened. And then the Wild and Avs were like, yeah, well, we're going to show you this now. So if you thought that was something. But what I thought was interesting with their game 1 was the Frost put up 4 goals, headed into overtime against Montreal's goalie. and Renee, who put up amazing numbers throughout the season. And I just thought, man, you put up 4 against her and you don't win this game. That's tough. Like you put in that many goals, you need to win the game. So it was a good thing they found their overtime magic, and early in overtime, which apparently that's just all they play, because in their final last year was all overtime games too. So why would we expect anything different? And on Montreal's side, they had a player with a hat trick, first hat trick in playoff history.
Yeah, Stacey, right?
Yeah, Laura Stacey. And similar to what the Wild did to a little bit, just the answers in each game. Like Montreal tied that game 3 times. I think at least twice the Frost had a really quick answer. Like they had tied it 2-2 after the Frost were up 2-0. Grace Michael turns and grabs a loose puck, and it's 3-2. All of a sudden, they're back in front again. So I think with both of these teams, both the Wild and the Frost, that's what I was glad to see, is not kind of this retreat and like, oh, woe is us, we got scored on, or now it's tied, or now we're behind. They just kind of go right back to work and score. So it'll be interesting to see how the Frost approaches game 2, as they obviously tried it. I'm sure they would love to go up 2-0 for multiple reasons, because they probably don't want to play that game 4, which is now going to be a back-to-back situation, because it was either, I think, back-to-back, or they would have had to wait like 5 days to play game 4. So they'll also be without Britta Curl-Sleme did get suspended for game 2. She had a high hit and a game misconduct. So they'll be without her, which is a loss, but their offense is so deep. I don't, it should be fine from that perspective. I'll be interested to see what they do in goal, because I know they've done the rotation with Rooney and Hensley, and Rooney started Saturday. But in the playoffs, they have kind of stuck with the one goalie who's been the hot hand a little bit, but she did give up 4. So we'll see if he switches to Hensley or not.
Yeah, that was going to be my question. Like, it's hard to see what Ken Klee will do, because every year in the postseason has been so different. Like coming off of last year's back-to-back, I was like, yeah, I wonder if he will play Hensley or not. But I guess that's a wait and see, because I thought Rooney played really well. I don't think she maybe one bad goal, but other than that, I thought they were all like pretty hard, difficult goals.
Yeah, it's similar with Wallstead. I don't fault it. There was one, I think, that Stacey kind of snuck around the corner, like got in between the posts, and that was one she probably wanted to have back. But yeah, I don't fault her either in that game. I think it was just, again, similar to the Wild a little bit. So we'll see. I don't have a read on what Ken Klee might decide to do. They have done the rotation pretty much throughout the year, kind of every other game. For the most part, I think Rooney did get a couple starts in a row throughout the season, but yeah, I'll be interested to see what they do there. But they always say we have 2 good goaltenders. Like, they're never really concerned about that. There hasn't really been a situation where it's like, oh, we really got to switch it up because this goaltender is not doing well. They've both been really solid for 3 seasons now. So I think they know what they have back there.
What I thought was really interesting is you were on our Fox 9 morning show the other day, and the interesting thing you said was that actually Montreal, even though they're the top seed, higher seed coming into the series, they're the ones with the pressure on them, because obviously the Frost are coming in as back-to-back champions, and Montreal hasn't done anything in the postseason. So rather than like seeing the Frost as the ones that have something to prove and the pressure, you say that it's Montreal with the target, right?
Yeah, that's what I mean. There's obviously pressure on the Frost because they are back-to-back champs. And as Heisey said, and I wrote about for today, like, we're the only ones that have ever done it. We're the only ones that have been the champs. But yeah, in my mind, there is a lot of pressure on Montreal because they have been the 1 seed now last year and this year. And they've, like the Frost, they're the only 2 teams that have been in the playoffs all 3 years too. And Montreal hasn't gotten out of their semifinal series. I think their first year they lost to Boston. I think those were all overtime games. They were swept by Boston that first year, and then lost to Ottawa in, I believe, 4 games last year in the semis. And I just think, yeah, there's some pressure on that, and especially now losing that first game and you're at home, to go down 0-2, losing those 2 home games, that's going to be tough for them, I think. And with the Frost, I said this on a radio hit I did the other day that nothing surprises me with their team either. To see the way, especially as I was looking back that first playoff series 2 years ago against Toronto, who picked Minnesota.
That's right.
They were shut out their first 2 games, and so went down 0-2 and came back for game 3. And I thought, okay, this is going to be, a sweep, and they're going to be done. They can't even score a goal. And then they come back and win those 3, win the final in 5 games, and now they're back-to-back champs. So just to see the adversity and kind of how they've done it in not an ideal way, but they've been able to get it done, and they always seem to find a way and players step up. I think they have that championship pedigree, and I think, it's something that Montreal is going to have to prove that they can do it and prove that they can win in the postseason too, because to this point, they haven't been able to do it.
I absolutely agree. I was saying that to someone else. I'm like, well, first of all, their first year, they had to back their way in to even get to the playoffs and then fight their way through and then win it twice. Then they won the second year, which was not easy. So I'm like, third year, that's why I said Montreal, ooh, that's what happens when you get Ottawa. I'm like, I'm not saying they're going to be three-peat champs, but I'm like, in this series, they cut the tiger by the tail. So, but so did you schedule-wise, Heather. Now that you've got so much, I think every single day you've got something to do for either Wild or for Frost. So I can't believe we snuck you in on a day that you're probably still writing like 12 stories. But thank you. I really appreciate you coming on, because I know that you're either at practice, watching a game, trying to get to, an availability, a skate. So you probably don't even know what day it is. Your schedule is helter-skelter. But this is what you live for, right? This is what you like, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. I was telling someone the other day, it's good. I'm busy. It's good. They won that series, which means more hockey games and more work for me. So that's always good to keep that going as long as possible, keep hockey season going. So yeah, I think it is Monday, right? So yeah.
Today's Monday.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, and also keeping up with watching. I don't have any work on the Wolves side, but keeping up with watching the Wolves, when I can too. But yeah, between the Wild and Frost, I think Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Monday, Tuesday. Yeah, pretty much every day. Again, I'll need to bring that cot with me that I still need to get at the arena. So.
Yep, you're with every single Minnesota fan. They're like, okay, today the Wild, the Wolves, or the Frost. Some days are both. Is there one day that's all three, maybe? So
and Tuesday will be tough because I'll have to have multiple screens going with the Frost and the Wild playing at the same time. So,
well, if anyone can do it, you can do it. That's right.
Thank you.
All right, Heather, thank you so much. I'm keeping fingers crossed for you and for some great coverage. And I'm looking forward to seeing maybe a deep run if you can get enough caffeine and take both all the way to the championship. That would be something to talk about later.
Yes, that would definitely be something. And you know what? I think Jessi would love to see a long playoff run too. I think if they can do it, this might be the year for them to go all the way.
If that happens, we all go to Cup and Cone again. It is a date.
Yes, 100%.
We get the whole posse together again, and we go to Jim. You'll have to come to Cup and Cone. I mean, I don't know. They might have some ice cream for you. I know that sometimes you have to watch, the menu, but we'll find you something. We'll find you something. All right, Heather Rule. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Don. Appreciate it. It's good to talk to you guys.